Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Trent. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the head coach and owner here with the Coastal Stars, and basically got a little present prepared for you guys here. If I can finish getting set up. There we go, cool. So thank you guys for joining us. Those of you that are here, we have a cool little live stream planned. I've actually done this in the past. I did it in person in the past because one thing I've found out through the course of doing this for a few years is a lot of people have a lot of the same questions, and in addition to that, it's crazy how uninformed a lot of people are because of the lack of information that is out there to help people with this whole process and all that sort of stuff. So what I have for you guys today, and by the way, for those of you that are unfamiliar, this is a live stream with chat over there. So if there's something wrong with the audio or whatever, if you just have a question pop up in the middle, feel free to comment it right, to the side or down below, and I will get that answered for you. And it's helpful to us as well in case you can't hear me or something. So basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to give you guys some information. We are trying to help you guys become a little bit more informed about the process so that you guys can give yourselves the best chance to succeed. And if you guys love it, we may try and do it again sometime. If you guys hate it, no worries, and sorry I wasted your time, but hopefully this is helpful to some of you guys. So watching right now, and we will also have him on the air in just a little bit, we have Coach Stuckey, Jerry Stuckey. He played at Georgia State University where he set quite a few records as a pitcher, and then he also coached as a pitching coach and recruiter for Georgia State University, Middle Georgia College, and South Georgia College. So really knows his stuff. He's going to be a good source of information, and we will have him on audio here to answer some questions for you guys as well. So let me just go ahead and get on into this. Basically, I have a little presentation here for you guys, and as I'm going through it, if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them out there, and we'll do our best to get those answered for you guys. So first thing I wanted to start with is a lot of people don't realize this is that I want to be clear. Everybody wants that signing day. Everybody wants, the glory and the attention from doing that, and it's awesome. And for those who have done it and earned it, it's certainly something to be celebrated. But college baseball is not for everyone, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. There are tons of people who, are talented enough to play in college, but it's just not the right thing for them for whatever reason. And I'll give you an example. I was actually at a game last night scouting some talent, trying to find us some guys for one of my teams. And while I was there, I found out that the entire infield was already accepted into colleges. And it was Georgia, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, and Georgia. And they were all going for academics, not for baseball. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And the reason why it's so important, is because you don't want to force something if it's not the right thing for you. And here's a little bit of some of the issues that I see all the time. People will go into college baseball and they aren't prepared for some of the, responsibility, some of the schedule hecticness, if you will. I was going to talk about this as well. I thought this was pretty funny. My brother, this happened as I was getting ready for this stream. Cameron, my younger brother, who is currently at Georgia State University, and they've had a heck of a schedule already so far, he messaged me and Justin said, how's that school work going? Are you hanging in there? And Cameron replied, kind of. And then after that, Justin said, well, hey, man, just keep doing your best. And Cam's like, yeah, it's rough. We've been home 2 days. That's the longest period of time they've been home in the past month. So imagine how difficult a school year already is in college. And, get on a bus ride for, half the time you're there. You're on the road. You're at hotels. You're never at your apartment or your dorm, no access to the library. It makes it very difficult. So that's one of the important things that people have to realize. But there also are a lot of pros that I want to talk about as well. Constantly I see guys build all sorts of friendships. That's a big one. But the big one that I love to talk about is it really tends to keep students out of trouble. It tends to keep players on a better path a lot of times than they alternatively would be. There are lots of guys who I know, had they not been in college baseball, then they would have likely been pass out drunk every night, in downtown Athens or something. So it really actually keeps them encouraged to make positive decisions, if that makes sense. So the bottom line I wanted to talk about here, obviously you guys can see all the stuff listed, but these are some pros and cons that I think everyone needs to consider. The other one I did want to talk about is potential increased costs of college. A lot of people love to think that if I'm going to sign to play baseball in college, then I'm going to get a big discount. And that's not always the case. And I'll use myself as an example. I went to play at Emmanuel College, and that ended up being much more expensive, even with my scholarships, than any of the other schools I would have gone to for just academics. So some pros and cons I think that are good for you guys to be aware of. The next thing we're going to go to, and this is where we really start getting into the meat of why, the things that you guys probably don't know but do need to know, okay? What does it take to play at the next level? And the answer is not a definite one, but this is as definite as you can find. The modern scouting, for the most part, and I disagree with modern scouting. I think I hate it because it didn't allow guys like me to get a lot of opportunities. But the way modern scouting works, whether we like it or not, is it relies heavily upon tools. Okay, and this is especially true if you're going, Division I, high-level Division II. And what we mean by tools are, the 5 tools, but primarily arm strength, power, and speed. Those are the ones that the scouts want to see. Those are the ones that they're going to be impressed by, and those are the ones that are going to allow you to get more opportunities, if that makes sense. And this right here, I'm going to show you guys something, and this is something that you guys should absolutely check out, okay? If you guys can see this page, which you should be able to, that I've just brought up here, this website is something that you guys should absolutely be all about, okay? And what this website does is it shows you the different measurables that you would need to have to play at each respective level in college. Is this a perfect key? No. But it is extremely reasonable, okay? And I'll show you guys what it means, for example, I was a middle infielder, okay? I was about a 7.2, 7.1 coming out of college. I probably threw about 80 coming out of college, coming out of high school, coming out, through 80 across the infield, probably about a 7.160. I was about a buck 55, weight. So I was not a big guy, okay? Division I middle infielder between a 6'5 and 6'8, okay? That was not me. Across the diamond, 85 and 95. Between that was also not me, okay? And guess what? I did not end up D1. So you go down here, again, lower D1, high D2, and this is going to be 165 to 190, 6'9 or below, low 80s. And I'll say, when I went to Emmanuel, they got better, but I was probably here. This is probably where I was, and you guys can see weight 170. That's the size I was in college. 7.0 or below, I was about a 7.1. And velocity from the infield, 78. I was probably about 80, 81. So that fit me. And the thing with this website is it's really cool, guys, because you can go and look at any of the positions over here. Okay, and I will provide this link in the chat right now if you guys want to go check it out later. But you can click any position and it'll tell you, hey, this is a good idea of what you probably need, to make it at each respective level. So here's this link. It is now over there in the chat in case anybody wants to check that out. So moving on. The big things outside of tools are their build, guys. You have to, it is very important for you guys to be working in the weight room, get as big as you can, as strong as you can, as fast as you can, so that, when you hit a ball, it goes farther. When you leg out that double, you're safe more often. When you run that 60 for coaches, you impress them even more. You guys have to get in the weight room. Baseball IQ, that's another big thing that coaches will see and they will like. I signed my professional contract. My first professional contract that I did sign was because I made a very high baseball IQ play. I was playing shortstop. I faked out a guy stealing second base. I made him think the ball was somewhere that it wasn't. And the coach coaching third for the other team really, really liked it and ended up getting me an opportunity because of that. Baseball IQ can absolutely make differences. Obviously, good grades and SAT guys and coaches who will review you positively. And the reason I put that in there, okay, is because so often when guys are trying to get an opportunity, when they're trying to talk to a coach, they will end up one way or another calling me or calling your high school coach. Okay, and that call can be very important. Okay, and the reason why I have that there is because guess what happens if you guys, even if he's the worst coach in the world, even if I'm the worst coach in the world, if you tick off that coach who has to review you and has to give a recommendation on you, that may not work well for you. Okay, so make sure you try and make every single coach look at you and be like, that's a guy I like. That guy always listens. He does what he's supposed to. So when that college coach calls me asking about him, I'm going to review him well, if that makes sense. So again, guys, if y'all have any questions about anything, throw them over there. Be happy to answer. Moving on, if I can. There we go. How to get noticed. Okay, this is another one I get all the time. Okay, how do I get noticed? Why am I not getting, any attention? Okay, and these are the most common answers. Okay, the number, most common is high school baseball. Okay, but let me tell you guys a secret. There are very, very, very few college scouts that are attending high school baseball games, and the reason for that is, what are college coaches doing right now? They're in the middle of their season. For the entire high school season, college coaches are in the middle of their season, okay? So it is extremely difficult for them to make it out to your games. Often they have to miss their practice in order to come see you, which doesn't happen a whole lot. And if it does, it really only happens at high-level schools where they can afford to send a coach off, The next is summer and fall baseball. That's like what we do, obviously. And you guys have seen them. Go come to our games and then come to a high school game and see which one there's more scouts at. And part of the reason is A, it's not during their season. They have more availability to come and watch you guys. They're much more free with their schedule to come and see players. And in addition to that, 99% of the time, the competition we play is far better than the competition that you guys are playing in high school. And so these college scouts, these college coaches want to come see the best players all in one place, and that's exactly why we play in the events that we do, because that's what attracts them. Okay, so that's the second answer. Third answer, how to get noticed, is going to be showcases. Okay, now that's going to be the most exposure because you are guaranteed to get in front of college coaches, college scouts, and you are guaranteed to be seen by them. Okay, but the problem there is, so that's probably going to offer the most exposure out of all three of those, without question. But the problem there is showcases are really limited to a specific type of player sometimes. And if you're one of those guys, then go to showcases. If you are a guy who's going to hit the ball out of the ballpark in BP, go to showcases. If you're a guy that's going to show out, blow people away with a 60 time, really impress people with your glove at shortstop, put up crazy low pop times as a catcher, or, light up the radar gun, go to showcases. You will get noticed. However, if you're a guy who was, more like me, coming out of high school, they can be difficult because I was a guy who, and a lot of, you guys are as well. There's a lot more of this type of player. I was a guy who, you go and I'm going to play solid defense. I'm going to hit line drives in BP. and I'm going to put up a solid 60 time. But I'm not going to blow anyone away with any of those. And so because of those reasons, showcases were not good for me. That I went to 13 pro style tryouts before I got signed professionally. And the one I got signed professionally was because we were inter squatting, because I was more of a guy who stood out in games with things I would do at games. Those guys who would put balls out in BP couldn't do it against live pitching when you started throwing them solid changeups and solid curveballs, but that's where I did better. And so that's why, the showcase baseball and the games were much better for me. Okay, so you kind of have to pick, okay, which one is better for my player? Which one is going to allow my player, or me, if you guys are players watching, which one's going to allow me a better chance to stand out? Am I a guy who's going to ball out in games, or am I a guy who's going to go out there and throw 95, and it goes both ways too. And, I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings here, but there are tons of pitchers, for example, who can go out there in a bullpen and throw 92, 93, and look solid. And then they go out there with a live batter and they just can't figure it out. They can't fill it up. Guess what? That's the guy who's there for showcases. That's the guy who needs to go to more showcases and less games, So you kind of have to balance it out and make that decision for your player or your playing style. Also important with showcases, guys. Let me be clear about this as well. I get this question all the time, okay? If you guys come to our Scout Day this summer, which obviously hope everyone will be there, come to our Scout Day this summer, just like last summer, okay? We will have coaches there. We will have college scouts there. They will be watching you guys, okay? Go to, a different showcase. I won't name any names, but you go to some of these ones, especially ones that you have to pay a pretty penny for, and a lot of times there's no college coaches there. There's no college scouts there. And if you get a video, that's something, that's good. But if you're going to a showcase and you're paying for a showcase and there's nobody there, then that's worthless, okay? So you have to be mindful. If you guys never know about one, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to offer the best insight that I can into it. And then the final way to get noticed is coach's referral. And what, I really mean by this is you play with a coach who has the ability to get you signed, get you an offer, or at least get you a phone call or a workout, and he sends your information and makes that happen. And I'll use me for an example. A lot of my guys, I've got 2 right now that I'm working on who are 2021s, who should be playing somewhere, but they haven't gotten an offer yet or an opportunity, and I'm sending a couple text messages out for them. And I believe both of them just got a workout the other day. But hopefully, things like that will continue to come through and happen. And that's the final way. These are the main 5 ways that people are going to get noticed. Okay. And I skipped over emails and social media. Yeah, guys, you have to create opportunities. You cannot wait for things to fall in your lap. My opportunities, I got 3 offers in college. All of them were because I sent emails to coaches. Okay, and then I got invited to workouts, and I did well at the workouts. Okay, you guys have to create opportunities on social media, post good quality videos. I cannot emphasize this enough. So many of you guys will post videos, and they aren't good quality. Coaches want to see good quality. They don't want to see a shaky camera. They don't want to see things that are unimportant. Post good quality stuff. Send out emails. Create opportunities for yourself. So that's what we got there. And then I wanted to touch on this too. This is another thing that I get all the time that is widely misunderstood. Okay, this is the most misunderstood thing that I have on here. And this is the timeline, okay? And if you don't hear anything else, please hear this slide right here. Because every year, without question, I get guys coming to me in January or December of their senior year freaking out because they don't have any offers. But that's completely normal, guys. That is exactly how it should be, okay? If you are D1, okay, which the majority of you guys are not, that's just the numbers. If you are D1, you will get offers and you will be recruited and you will sign freshman to junior year, Okay, it'll be somewhere in that time frame. Some guys earlier than others. Okay, I've seen plenty of guys get offers freshman year from D1s, and I've seen plenty of guys not get them until junior year. Okay, but if you are outside of Division One, slow down, guys. You don't have to be in a hurry. D2s are going to sign junior to senior year, but primarily senior year. They're only signing seniors for the most part, guys. The rest of these are almost only signing seniors. Okay? So if you are D2, NAI, D3, or JUCO, it is completely normal for you to have no offers going into spring of your senior year. I did not have any offers in March of my senior year. And I ended up signing in like late April of my senior year, guys. So this is totally fine. Last year, due to COVID, I had 4 guys. I had 4 different seniors that I got signed in the summer after they had already graduated. So slow down, because here's why. Is if this D2 or this NAIA or this JUCO goes for a stud as a sophomore, guess what happens? If he's that good, a D1's probably going to get him. And then they just wasted their time. So they only go for seniors, guys. Slow down. And a lot of them, to be honest with you, a lot of college coaches just aren't organized enough to have multiple classes. If you're not a D1 with X amount of staff at your disposal, you can't keep up with 3 different classes of recruits. So you guys have to realize that this is the normal timeline. Okay. Now I'm about to call Coach Stuckey on Facebook. He has worked with us some. I was planning to have video up for you guys, but it looks like we will only have audio. So I'm going to be calling him right now, and we are going to have his audio here. Hopefully you guys can hear him. I will be going over some additional things in case you can't hear him. But so here's what we got. Coach Stuckey, say something and let me make sure the sound's working here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think so. Hey, Sharon says, yes, so Sharon, let me answer that real quick. Sharon says, do you post your videos on your own page or somewhere else? The best place, Sharon, is you tweet them out. Twitter is the best place to get recruited. Contrary to popular belief, people always ask me about like NCSA or other stuff. Twitter is the place where college coaches are lurking, if anywhere. So the most important tool you guys have is my retweets, to be honest with you. We have like 7,000 followers, and a ton of them are college, guys. So post them on your Twitter and tag us. And if it's a good quality video, we will absolutely retweet it. So I hope that answers that question. Jerry, we have you now here. And again, I'll go over this in case you guys didn't hear. Coach Stuckey played at Georgia State University. He was a stud pitcher out there, guys. I think he set the career record for appearances at Georgia State. And then he coached at Georgia State, Middle Georgia State, and South Georgia. He worked as a pitching coach and a recruiter, so he really knows what he's talking about. I've got 3 things prepared to ask him here, and if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to put those out there as well. So the first question I have for Coach Stuckey is, what are the things that you looked for when you were evaluating prospects or players?
Okay, so I primarily recruited pitching, obviously, since I did pitching as as my job, but I also recruited a little bit of everything. So I'm going to talk separately here, hitting and pitching. First off, pitching, the number one thing was throwing strikes, and I know that kind of sounds cliche for a coach to say, but if you were not throwing strikes, I was pretty much done watching my recruiting trip, if that makes sense. So it became imperative that whenever I go watch somebody, he was able to command the zone. That was number one. And I know I was kind of looking over one of the questions that you were going to ask me, and it kind of ties into that second part. What do we mark off? That would be one of them when it comes to pitching. If we were to mark something off the list, check it off, or whatever the case may be, that would be it. As far as hitting goes, hitting is a completely different animal. When you're talking about failing most of the time and being really good still, That changes everything. What I look for in a hitter is totally different. Um, I'm looking for somebody that is going to just give me their best effort in every at bat. So that means, you know, running down the line hard, not showing up umpire, not showing up his teammates. Obviously, there's talent involved in that too, but character goes a long way, especially at the college level. We don't want to recruit anybody that's going to be a poor teammate, and so if you're showing that you're a poor teammate even in one at bat, that generally means that that's your character. Um, character tends to show. So if you're doing that once, you're probably doing that more times than not. So that's one thing that we definitely look for. We even if you go 0 for 3, if you go 0 for 3 and give me your best effort down the line, um, and different things like that, then there's a chance, even if I didn't put a check mark by your name, that I'm coming back to see you, especially if I had good recommendations to come see you the first time. So it's completely different, I guess, between pitching and hitting. Hopefully that kind of answers a little bit of what we look for.
Yeah, no, I think that is excellent. I got a couple things that I want to add on to what he said there. So the first, you talked about character, and you guys don't realize how much that can impact decisions. I invited a coach out a year ago to come watch all my guys, and he had two guys that he really liked. And he said one of the top things that he liked in one of the guys was that, before he came off the field, he really stayed outside the dugout and dapped up each one of his teammates before they came in the dugout. He could tell that was something indicative of a team player. Okay, and he was exactly right. But also, the other important thing about that is that coach, those guys that he liked before they came off the field, he had already checked their social media accounts. He had already been over their Twitter accounts and made sure that they were the quality of person that he was looking for in their team. And one last thing I do want to talk about on that note that Jerry probably won't, but he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I have had college coaches tell me this multiple times, guys, and I've had to address parents about it as well. But parents, you guys can play an impact as well. And I will tell you this, you can almost never play a positive impact. So the best thing you guys can do is be invisible, just about, okay? But you can potentially play a negative impact. If you guys are at our games and a coach likes your player, and something happens and you are chirping hard from the dugout or from the stands at the umpire, or showing your butt, to the other team, at your player, yelling at your player, whatever reason. There's two problems with that. One, it's a direct indicator of, okay, we may have some character problems with that player. But secondly, the other important thing is when that coach signs your player, they're also signing up to have you in the bleachers for 4 years. Okay, so that's something important to remember as well. So I'm going to go into our second question I have set up for Coach Stuckey, and you already kind of touched a little bit on it with pitching. What are some things that are an instant check mark, like I'm interested in this guy, or an instant write-off, like I am not interested in this guy? What are some things that you can see that would result in either of those?
So, again, same thing on the pitching. If they're not able to throw strikes, then that's something that is going to immediately be an X on that name. Just because when you get to the college level, and it doesn't matter what level it is, I've coached junior college, NAIA, D1, played D1. At the end of the day, if you're not throwing strikes, and then there's no room for you on the team. I hate to be that mean about it. But that's really the way that it is. If you can't throw strikes, then you're not going to help the team, because at that level, it's the best of the best that are coming up to the plate. And if they know that if you're giving them 3-1 counts, and I don't mean walking everybody, I mean, not throwing strikes and falling behind and et cetera. But if you're if you're getting every single hitter into a hitter's count at the college level, you're going to get murdered. So it just doesn't fit. And even if you are, falling behind in high school, a lot of times, especially if you've got some velocity or something like that, you can fall behind 3-1, 3-0, and then come back and strike the guy out, and you look like the king of high school. But when it comes to college, that just isn't going to fly. It's just not the way that it works. So unfortunately, that is that is something that would get you marked off pretty quickly as a pitcher. And then as a hitter, again, just anytime that you're showing up an umpire or something like that, or being a bad teammate, that would be an immediate write-off. But then, like Trent said, touching on the social media and stuff like that, that is something that gets checked often. And also, coach recommendations. I mean, one of the first questions that gets asked to high school coaches and travel ball coaches is, tell me a little bit about him. How is he easy to work with? Does he practice well? Some of the questions that we won't get to see until we necessarily have them underneath us. When we're recruiting a guy, those are questions that we would ask, some reliable sources that we trust, such as the coaches. And if the answer is not good, and we can tell, even if a coach is trying to sell him, a lot of times coaches will try to sell their kids regardless of how good or bad they are character-wise, but they'll give indicators that give it away that they're selling instead of telling the truth. And one of the go-to is, um, well, he's a gamer or something like that. And that normally tells us, well, that means he's not going to give us much effort in the classroom or in practice. He's just going to show out and be a high school player is what that tells us. And when you get to the college level, it can be very, very difficult to keep up with classes, kind of like Trent was saying earlier. And it's also very difficult to keep up with the practice, the daily grind of 6 and 7 days a week. And then, half of those days are 2 days with weightlifting and conditioning and et cetera. So, I guess, getting a lot of the check marks sometimes are not even from something that the kid did necessarily that day, but something that he's done over the course of time to not get the recommendation that he would want to get from other people.
Cool. Yeah, and that's I think that's goes right in with what we were saying earlier. How important it is to have that coach's recommendation at your disposal. So let me summarize it. Just short and sweet. Don't piss off any coaches, guys. Don't become anyone's enemy. Don't become anyone's least liked player. You want to be you want to be the guy who could go over and not perform at all, but your character, your hustle, and your attitude is so good that they still want you in the dugout. And then the other stuff is a bonus. Cool. Thank you, Jerry. Last question that I have prearranged. If you could give one piece, and forgive me, guys, if you guys hear my toddler yelling in the background. It is bedtime, so I'm doing my best here. But if you could give yourself one piece of advice in freshman year of high school, what would it be? And before you go, I'll actually give mine. If I could go back and give myself one piece of advice as a freshman, it would be get your butt in the weight room. Get in the weight room and get after it. Because it's just so important at that age, and I didn't realize how important it was, and so trying to catch up, was difficult. And that's actually the one thing I think that can make a big impact in your recruiting as far as to where you end up. So that would be mine. Go ahead, man.
So, not to brag, I guess, if you want to call it that, but I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on my high school career a little bit so that you understand what was going through my head. So
he is an alumni of Perry High School, I believe, right?
Just I actually was homeschooled, believe it or not. So I did not go to high school
in Perry, though. Okay, all right, continue.
Yeah, but I am from Perry, though. But so I was coming out of high school. I was projected to go top 10 rounds. I was not expecting to go to college at all. Um, and if I could give myself advice back in freshman year, it would be to tell myself I'm not really as good as I thought I was. And I don't mean that way. I don't mean that to be like as um, a I guess a negative to myself, or to beat myself down or anything like that. But a lot of times kids, no matter how good they are, they start to think that they're too good to work. Kind of like you were saying, getting in the weight room. I felt like I could just roll out and win baseball games and be better than everybody else, and I didn't really have to work for it. And I believe that um, negatively impacted me through my career, because I felt like I was always a step behind once I got to college. And don't get me wrong, I had a great college career and I enjoyed it, and did some good things. But I was always, I always felt like I could have been one or two steps better if I had worked a little bit. And you can't get that time back. Once you've sat on the couch and decided not to do something, there's no undoing that time. So yeah, if I could go back, that would be my advice to myself: is don't let myself get complacent, because you can't get your 14-year-old self back. And the amount of um, work I could have got done with the energy that I would have had at 14 years old, I could have got a lot done. But I chose to play more video games than I wanted to. Looking back at it.
Yeah, no, and I agree completely. And the thing a lot of people don't realize is that Georgia, you guys are in a good state and a bad state for baseball. It's a good state in the aspect that you get to play year round. You have some of the best colleges to attend. You're at the hub of baseball in really probably in the United States at Lake Point and East Cobb. But the bad thing is you are in the most densely populated area of talent in the country. Florida, Georgia, California, and Texas are the four best states baseball-wise, and it's not close. And so, what Jerry is saying is basically that, in that if you're sitting there, somebody is outworking you. If you're in Pennsylvania or you're in New York, and it snows for 4 months, you can take some time off, because guess what? There's probably not a lot of other people getting in a ton of work either. Okay, but down here in Georgia and this area of the country, there is always somebody outworking you. Okay, so that is it's crucial, and I completely agree with that. So cool, Jerry. Thank you so much. Real quick, guys, let me open it up. Jerry, before you go, if anybody has any questions that they would like to throw at Jerry, and then I'll ask if y'all have any questions for me. But real quick, before I let him go, does anybody have any questions for Jerry before we let him get on? I guess not. Okay, hey, thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us, man. Greatly appreciate it, man. Have a good one, dude, and hopefully we'll see you out on the field coaching for us sometime, man.
Definitely looking forward to it. See ya.
See you, Jerry. Okay, guys, so now that Jerry's gone, couple quick things. So first off, does anybody have any questions for me that they'd like to ask? Obviously, I've covered a lot here, and if you guys missed any part of the PowerPoint, this video will be available on the website. But we have an open Q&A right now, so if you guys have any questions about anything baseball-wise, development, college, offers, even college just in general, I'm happy to help with that. So if you do have that, feel free to ask now. And while I wait to see if anybody does have questions, let me touch on this as well, in case we have anybody new here who's not in the program, or in case you guys know anyone looking. We have a tryout workout this coming Saturday at DBAT Warner Robins. We would love to have you guys out if you're a returner as a free workout, or if you are a new interested player, we would absolutely love to have you come out and see if you'd be a good fit for our program. So please make sure to share that with anybody if you guys know somebody that may be interested. We would greatly appreciate it. Got a few more roster spots to fill. And so it does not seem like we have any questions. I'll hang out for another minute or so. just to see if anybody's got anything they want to throw at us. And if not, then we will call this a Q&A session. So I will wait for another minute and we will see. Thank you guys so much for joining. Hope you guys found this beneficial. Try to put this together to give you guys the best chance to succeed, and just try to learn a little bit. So I will call that a session here, guys. Thank you guys so much. Please let me know if we can do anything better next time, and